Alright, how's it going everybody? My name is Infamous Isaac. I'm here with a video on my adventures with Superman. So season 1 recently just finished up and I wanted to make a short video detailing how I feel about it because I was super excited to see what this show was about when I saw episode 1 on YouTube. Adult Swim did like a little promotional thing by releasing the first episode on there, and then after a while they took it off, so you had a limited time to see it. And I was lucky to watch it, and man, let me tell you, I was engaged. So I was super excited to see what the rest of the season had in store. But without further ado, let me get into the details about that season and how I feel about it. Starting off with the non-spoilers and then moving on to the spoilers. So for my non-spoiler opinion, I feel like this show was a 7 out of 10. It's a 10 episode show, so it doesn't have a lot to give for its first season. But for what it does, I feel like it can give a lot, but it also does underdeliver in some areas. It feels like season 2, I just want to see more. Not in the sense that like I'm super excited, which don't get me wrong, I really did enjoy season 1. But at the same time, I just wanted to see more things that didn't feel like they were developed well enough. And mind you, I'm going into this as somebody who doesn't know much about Superman at all, except the basic lore tidbits that most people know and maybe a little bit more than that. But besides that, I am not a Superman historian. And mind you, while I do know a little bit about him, this is the first piece of Superman media that I have consumed where he is the main character. So this is the first time I'm ever going to see a story or a rendition of his character. So for me as the common person going into this like, oh, Superman, that looks cool. I like the way the characters look. I like the way the show looks. Let me give this a try. For me, it's perfectly fine. For people who are diehard Superman fans, maybe it's not going to be because sometimes it may not be accurate or sometimes the show doesn't look that great. It may not be for everybody, but for me, as just a normal person watching this, I had a good time. So as a general description, this is the story of Superman told in like an anime type of animation style with slice of life type of stuff with some fighting in it. And it's a very cute and enjoyable, sometimes funny show. Plus, Jack Quaid is the voice actor for Superman in this. On top of that, people are going crazy for the fact that Lois Lane looks like Casca from Berserk. So for me, that was a win-win. So either way, I was gonna enjoy it. And if that sounds appealing to you, then by all means, I highly recommend it. But if it doesn't, then shoot, there's other Superman content out there. This isn't the only one. It's just nice having content like this being made for superheroes. But again, overall this season, 7 out of 10. Had a strong start, then teetered off a little bit, but then came back around during the end of the season. I feel like there were some points where it was wasted potential, especially certain plot points that I will get into later on, where it just felt like you could have done so much more with this, but it's okay. But hopefully if this show can get greenlit for a second season, that they will deliver and come back with some of the craziest content that I was hoping for. I'm not expecting the world from them. I'm just expecting them to deliver on those emotional points that in season 1 maybe were undercooked. But until then, I'll just keep on hoping. But for now, let's move on to the spoiler section. So, as per usual, if you don't want to be spoiled for my adventures with Superman, then please leave now. I will be going deep into the spoilers for this show, so if you haven't watched it yet, then please leave. Come back if you want to. If you don't, the video will always be here. Unless if I get striked, but then that's a different thing. But with all that out of the way, if you're still here, then let's begin. So, Clark Kent, we start off with him learning that he has superpowers back when he's a kid, and then we skip to when he's an adult, when he's 22, 23. And he's living with his buddy Jimmy Olsen, a titular character from his comics, and then we learn about Lois Lane later on. But these two go to work at the Daily Planet because they want to be news reporters, right? And so they go there on internships, and then the boss is like, yo, you guys are going to be working with Lois Lane, another one of the interns. And all I want you to do is just help out around the office and learn from everybody else. Do not get into trouble. And so Lois Lane, knowing her, she's the one to get into trouble all the time. And so she always drags Clark and Jimmy all into her messes. But Clark really likes Lois, and Jimmy's just there because he likes hanging out with his friends. And so as you go through on the season, we meet a bunch of villains that show up, come back around later on. And to me, the villains in this show are either hit or miss. You have villains like the electricity girl from the first episode, or the girl with the giant arms later on, who are just basically jobbers. They're not here except to just be a thorn in Clark's side. But then you have people like Dr. Ivo and the three kids, and while at first they may seem like just annoying characters, to me I like them because the three kids are inexperienced for a reason. They have cracked powers, but because they're young, they don't know how to use them. And so for that reason alone, I like them. Dr. Evil himself is because of his jealousy and his vitriol that he has to Superman. Even though I think his power is kind of annoying and stupid, I still like his character. I think it's dope. And then on top of it, you have the General and Task Force Esque, which definitely get the brunt of the attention, but also are the better villains or slash antagonists in this season. With my favorite one of them being the General and the mercenary that basically works for him and Task Force X. But this season is just littered with a bunch of stuff ranging from Clark and Lois trying to figure out their love struggles. Are they dating or are they not? To Mxyzptlk showing up against a bunch of Lois Lanes for some reason, and then you have a gorilla and then you have a brain who are in love and they're trying to get away from Earth because if they ever reveal themselves, they would immediately be antagonized and discriminated against because they're scientists and also they're different from humans. So they've been scorned for so long that they're just going to go to a different dimension. And let me be clear, the gorilla and the brain were not antagonists to Clark. They were just acting out in self-defense. But in my opinion, the villains range from, they're alright too. This is a pretty good villain. I really enjoy seeing them on screen. But besides that, we also have Clark and his group of friends. They're interesting because on one hand, I think they're a pretty tight-knit group. And for them just meeting each other like a week ago, they're pretty close friends, surprisingly. And that goes more for Lois being integrated into the group. Jimmy and Clark have had a tight-knit bond for a grip now, so they're best of friends. They literally live together. But for Lois, she joins their group and next thing you know, Clark is head over heels for her. And by the way, so is she. But then you have Jimmy who's like, yo, you're our best friend now. Stay here forever. So on one hand, you could question the legitimacy of how fast they became friends and how fast they like each other. But on the other hand, it's cute, so I don't really care. One point of contention though is when Lois finds out about Clark being Superman. And for me, I personally don't mind her reaction because I feel like it's justified in some ways. And while on one hand, I can understand why people wouldn't like the episode where Lois is trying to get Clark to admit that he's Superman, I feel like it's in her character because Lois is so investigative and wants to see the truth for herself, even if it comes to cost at her learning it and being hurt by it. And lo and behold, she was hurt when she found out. Also because of the fact that she was being lied to by somebody that she really cares about. On top of that, that person is getting hurt night in and night out because he wants to be a superhero. So while the show does a good job showing that Lois isn't doing this just to be petty, even though a part of her definitely is, she's doing this to get the truth from Clark, because she still wants to care for him and she loves him. But just like Lois, Clark is stubborn, and he's not going to admit that to somebody because he doesn't want them to get hurt. And I feel like that's one thing that the show under-delivered on, is Clark reasoning for being Superman and not telling his friends. Because yeah, sure, he's trying to protect them and not get them involved, but I feel like there's more substance and weight behind that. The same with Lois and how she wants to find out the truth. I feel like there's untapped potential there that maybe they're saving for the second season, but I feel like could just been expanded upon more for this season. Jimmy also tries to get some attention throughout this season, with him basically being the third wheel in their relationship, but also he just wants to be their friend, you know? Jimmy cares for them as much as they care for him. But when the time comes, they weren't there for him for his camping trip. And so they kind of come to terms with that throughout the season, but I feel like it was just dropped more than it was accepted. Overall, I feel like the character work for this show could be better, but I feel like with time it will get better and the characters will be better understood and will have better motivations and will have more depth to them. But besides that, I feel like the first episode, my interview with Superman, the Gorilla in the Brain episode, Zero Day Part 2, and the final episode were pretty good episodes. But besides those, my least favorite episode was Kiss Kiss Fall into the Portal with Mxyzptlk. I did not like that episode. I thought it was so boring, so whack, so underwhelming. I thought it was stupid. My favorite side characters for sure were the little kids that would always show up with Lois. I thought they were so cute because you have the little girl with the unicorn hat. Like she gets so worried when Clark goes missing and she sees Superman and Superman saved her. She doesn't know the truth, obviously. I think that's so cute. You have the little chubby kid and then the prim and proper girl next to him, and then you have the tweaker. And I always remember the first episode saying that she's there because the leader's mom made her be there. Cute moments like that for me are what really make the show shine, because at the end of the day, even though there is fighting in this show, this is more of a slice of life for sure. It's literally called My Adventures with Superman. For the most part, we're just seeing how Clark and everybody around him lives their lives and having to juxtapose that with him being Superman. So Superman is going to carry that fighting, but we're going to see more of his life if anything. And I don't mind that, even though I feel like the animation sometimes can't keep up with the fighting. I hope in season 2 that they get more of a budget so the animation doesn't look so choppy sometimes. But I genuinely enjoy the slice of life. For people who want to see Superman fight, you're not going to get much of that, and if you do, it's not going to look that great. It's not going to really shock you. So while I can't recommend this to everybody, I feel like the people who do watch it and enjoy it will get a good kick out of it. Adult Swim delivered another banger. But overall, story, I thought it was good. I feel like the story itself was like a 7 to an 8. Could be better, but for right now, for what we got, it's definitely going somewhere. I feel like the characters can range from you are non-existent to, oh, you're cool, you're getting more attention. But usually it's just Jimmy, Clark, and Lois. Those are the main people. That's who we're going to be following. The animation, I feel like it could be better. Since it's season 1, I'm going to give it a pass. But overall, I'm not expecting it to be Castlevania. But I also expect there not to be that choppiness that it had sometimes. Because sometimes the cuts were just, they were super hard. You would just go from one frame to another. So if they get greenlit for season 2, hopefully they get a bigger budget so they can go all out where they need to. But overall, this show, again, it's a 7 out of 10. I got my enjoyment out of this show, even though it wasn't what episode 1 was for me. I feel like it definitely still stayed at a somewhat consistent level. Sometimes taking some dips, sometimes taking some rises. But overall, I got my enjoyment out of it. So let me know down below how you feel about this show. Thank y'all for watching. I hope y'all enjoy. I'll see you all in the next video. Again, I really appreciate you all watching these videos. It means the world to me, more than you would know. I'm going to keep making videos for as long as I can, until one day I make it, you know? So until then, hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.